All right. The point here, though, is that even if Bush had known Saddam did not have weapons of mass destruction, Bush is saying he might still have started the war. He doesn't want to speculate on that. You know, when you're looking back, it's not actually speculation. That's retrospection. It's hindsight, when things are actually supposed to be more clear. I would hope that we would have some clarity of hindsight after the past 8 years of foreign policy disaster upon disaster. As President-elect Obama today unveiled his national security team, the Congressional Commission charged with investigating weapons of mass destruction published its report saying that terrorists are likely to attempt a WMD attack in the next 5 years. The report says, quote, "Were one to map terrorism and weapons of mass destruction today, all roads would intersect in Pakistan." In the wake of the Mumbai attacks, the 60-hour assault on India's financial capital that left at least 172 people dead, tensions between nuclear-armed India and Pakistan have risen. Indian officials summoned Pakistan's ambassador tonight and told him that Pakistanis were responsible for the attacks and that Pakistan must be punished. India and Pakistan have fought 3 wars since independence in 1947. Pakistan reportedly came close to using their nukes against India in 1999, and war again nearly broke out again in 2002 after the attack by Pakistani terrorists on India's parliament. America's influence around the world is likely to rebound with Bush out of office. We do get a bit of a reset button. But man, have they got a really steep uphill climb in some really, really dangerous parts of the world. I sorely need some talking down here. Joining us now is Pulitzer Prize-winning New York Times columnist Nicholas Kristof, who has just returned from Pakistan. Nick, thank you so much for coming by. It's nice to see you.
Good to see you.
So, this is sort of your chance to talk me down here.
I'll do my best.
Tell me that the Mumbai attacks don't mean we're going to have either an India-Pakistan war or a huge new round of terrorism.
Well, you know, don't head for the ledge just yet. I think the big risk is that India is referring to this as its 9/11, and that it's going to respond as we did after 9/11, which was in ways that ended up feeling very satisfying emotionally, but ended up actually empowering our enemies. And I think there is a risk that India is going to put more pressure on Pakistan in all kinds of ways, including its military pressure in the border areas in Kashmir, in ways that will simply strengthen the Pakistani military, that will undermine moderates in Pakistan, and it will mean less money going in Pakistan to literacy programs and more money going to the likes of F-16s. So that's the risk. But I guess the happiest spin is that in 2002, they really were much closer to war than they are now. And we have been doing things that I think have actually undermined our position in Pakistan. I think we're going to get a much more sensible policy from now on in Pakistan. And, you know, there is indeed some hope that if we stop doing harm to our position, that Manmohan Singh, the Prime Minister of India, is a very smart guy. If he stays in office, I think he wants to rebuild relations with Pakistan. There is a chance to improve things as we go forward.
If the goal of terrorist attacks on civilian targets and financial capitals is to cause as much disruption as possible, so you create as much political pressure as possible for a response that essentially undermines the authority of government and real institutions in the country that is responding. What's the other alternative to doing that? What model do governments have for responding constructively to terrorism in a way that weakens their enemies instead of strengthens them?
Well, the first thing you have to do is do no harm. And there are ways that, well, improving security, trying to work with Pakistan to go after this group, Lashkar-e-Taiba, which appears to be, or is widely believed to have been responsible. Then that is ultimately going to be much more effective in reducing terrorist attacks in India. You know, my fear is that the opposite is happening. You're getting Indian nationalists like the Chief Minister of Gujarat, who's a very strong anti-Muslim campaigner, who are going to Mumbai to get strength. And no, I think that the upshot is going to be that Hindu nationalists are going to gain strength, and that in turn is going to strengthen Pakistani Muslim nationalists, and each side is going to invest more in their armed forces, and there's just going to be more tension. And the scariest things are the war games that people engage in between Pakistan and India, because in most other places where you engage in war games, you know, eventually you talk down. In India, Pakistan, surprisingly often, you end up with these war games with each side sending off missiles to the other. I didn't do a very good job talking you down, did I?
No, you're not. No, okay. Nowhere near. You've got one last chance here. When you think about the underlying concerns that they've got here, and I know you've been back and forth to Pakistan a number of times over a number of years, starting a long time ago when you were a student. You first started traveling to Pakistan. When you think about the prospects for, say, the United States trying to get constructively engaged in fixing one of the basic problems between India and Pakistan, which is this fight over Kashmir, could we ever constructively help there?
Yeah, I think we can. Pakistan actually did make some constructive proposals for Kashmir. We did not put enough pressure on India to respond in kind. And more broadly, I think there are institutions within Pakistan that would be very helpful. There was a lawyers' movement, which is the most hopeful single movement in Pakistan. We cut it off at the knees. We did not support it. And there are ways we could, for example, by supporting those people, by supporting the Chief Justice of Pakistan, that ultimately would end up supporting institutions and democracy in Pakistan. And that would be good for Kashmir, and that would undermine terrorists.
The way you have partially talked me down here is by making me believe that there are good policy options that are known that the Obama administration could pursue if they wanted to. We just now have to see if they will.
Yeah, we spent $10 billion in Pakistan since 9/11. If we had invested that in things like supporting institutions and supporting literacy programs, then Pakistan would be far better off today. It's tough, but it's not as if things are inevitably going to get worse.
It is the thinnest of silver linings, but it is there. And for that, I thank you. Nick, it's nice to see you.
Take care.
Nicholas Kristof is New York Times op-ed columnist.